Today, we expect good design to be invisible, seamless, even delightful. But that is a luxury born of lessons learned the hard way. In the 1940s, bad design didn't just frustrate users, it killed them. This is the true story of how a strange pattern of plane crashes during World War II revealed a deadly flaw, not in engineering, but in interface design, and how one man, a young psychologist named Alphonse Chapanis, helped change the way we design everything, from cockpits to the phones in our pockets. Welcome back to Creative Briefs. Let's get started. Now, during World War II, the US Army Air Forces noticed something strange. Highly trained pilots were crashing aircraft like the B-17 Flying Fortress during takeoff in perfect weather. The planes were brand new, the crews were experienced, there was no enemy fire. So what was happening? Well, upon closer inspection, a troubling pattern emerged. Pilots were mistakenly retracting the landing gear while still on the runway, thinking they were adjusting the wing flaps. And as a result, planes would suddenly collapse into the tarmac before they ever left the ground. Imagine you're on the runway, the engines are screaming, adrenaline is pumping, you reach for a control you used dozens of times before, and you pull the wrong one. Why? Well, because in those planes, the flap lever and the landing gear lever were side by side. Same shape, same size. Muscle memory, confusion, and split-second decision-making led to millions in damage and lives lost. The aircraft weren't broken, the pilots weren't careless. The problem was the interface. So to solve the mystery, the Army brought in someone unusual for the time, a psychologist. His name was Alphonse Chapanis. He was a Yale PhD with a growing obsession for how people interacted with machines, what we now call human factors. Chapanis approached the cockpit not as an engineer, but as a psychologist. He asked, what are the conditions under which humans fail? What happens when stress, speed, and similarity collide? What he discovered was simple and brilliant. He proposed changing the shape of the controls. A small wheel shape for the landing gear, a triangle for the flaps, a rounded knob for the throttle. Now, instead of looking, pilots could feel. In a high-stakes moment, they didn't have to pause to double-check. They just had to reach and know. The effect was immediate. Pilots stopped pulling the wrong levers. Accidents plummeted. The solution was cheap, it was elegant, and most importantly, it was empathetic. This was more than a clever fix. It marked the beginning of a design revolution. Chapanis went on to co-author the first major textbook on human factors engineering, formalizing an approach that centered on users, not machines. He introduced principles that are now cornerstones of UX design. Affordances. What something looks like is what it's meant to do. Feedback. Does the system respond when you interact with it? Consistency. Do similar actions yield similar results? Error prevention. Can we design systems where mistakes are less likely? If any of this sounds familiar, well, it should. We see it in iPhones, smart cars, hospital monitors, hell, even toilets. But when these principles are ignored, the cost is real. Consider these. A confusing hospital interface leads a nurse to give a patient 10 times the intended dose. A self-driving car's dashboard doesn't clearly indicate whether the system or the human is in control at the moment. Or that stupid printer that won't stop flashing error and not telling you why. In each case, it's not the user who's failed, It's the design. Alphonse Chapanis didn't just save lives. He helped shift the burden of understanding from the user to the designer. And today, entire careers are built on making things usable, intuitive, and safe. From UX designers and HCI specialists to product teams and safety engineers, it all traces back to those early warplanes and the man who asked, what if the system is failing the user and not the other way around? And isn't that the heart of good design? It doesn't demand brilliance from the user. It assumes they're human, fallible, rushed, distracted, and then we design accordingly. So the next time you scroll through an app, adjust your car's climate control, or operate a new gadget, remember this. You're not just using good design. You're using survivor wisdom passed down from a time when the stakes were life and death. User-centered design wasn't born in Silicon Valley. It was born in a cockpit during a war. Thanks to Alphonse Chapanis, we learned to design not just for performance, but for people. If you liked this deep dive into design history, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because every great design has a story, and here at Creative Briefs, we're here to tell it. I'll see you in the next one.